him to stay away from the idol worship, from false worship, and to call people towards Islam, which is the final revelation, which is the final message for the people of the earth, basically. But it had to start with Mecca, it had to start with Arabia, and then the rest of the world. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, after he now realizes that this is not something which is going to go away, or this was not hallucination, and this was not just a product of his mind, and this was not from Satan or the devils, but this was the reality, that he was a prophet, that he was selected by God to be the final messenger to the people of the earth, and that he had an enormous, humongous responsibility on his shoulders to change this idol worship, evil culture and society into a monotheistic, God-fearing, well-mannered, loving culture and society and people, which was, really asking. If you ask a human being to do that, it's almost asking too much. But anyway, so he realized that this is what he has to do, and that this is not going to go away until he does what he's supposed to do. So he goes back and he shares this message first with his family. As they say, that charity begins at home. You have to start by improving yourself and your family first before you go out there. And Allah had given him the permission to share this message of worshipping one God with his family members. So the first one to believe in him, the first Muslim, was his wife, Khadija, which is a great honor. So it was not a man to accept the message of Muhammad, peace be upon him, the first one, but rather it was a female, a woman who was honored to be the first believer, to be the first Muslim. And so she believed in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, knowing that he does not lie, knowing his character, and being with him for a number of years. She knew that, this was something real, and she believed in him. From his other close family members, his cousin, Ali, who was actually reported to have been a 9-year-old boy, he came to Islam. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had invited his family members for dinner, and once they were done for dinner, he told them what had happened to him, and that, that they should accept this message, and they should worship only one God. And they basically laughed at him and made fun of him. And then Ali, his cousin, who had grown up in the same household, the son of Abu Talib, he came up, this 9-year-old child came up and said, I believe in you. I will follow you. I believe that you're a prophet of God. And they mocked at Muhammad, peace be upon him, and said, look at him, he has followers. His followers are these kids. His followers are these weak people in society. So Ali is one of the early Muslims. Another one was his adopted son, Zayd. Zayd was a slave boy who was given to Khadija as a marriage gift when she got married to Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so Zayd had been part of the household of Khadija and Muhammad, peace be upon him. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, loved Zayd to such an extent that he freed him and he took him as his son. He adopted him as part of his family. And Zayd loved Muhammad, peace be upon him, so much that, even afterwards, later on, when he had the choice to return to his real family, now that he was free, he chose to stay with Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he said, I'm not going to leave this man. So he was one of the early believers. The first free man to accept Islam was Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was the childhood friend of Muhammad, peace be upon him. He had grown up with him. He had, known Muhammad, peace be upon him, since his childhood. He knew that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a righteous person, was a truthful soul, was somebody who could be trusted. So he was very quick, actually, to accept Islam, and he became one of the first believers. So these were first group of believers, a small society, a small group, which now took on this huge mission to turn this evil idol worshipping society on its heels and turn it around for good. But the larger family members, his tribe, the Banu Hashim, the Quraysh tribe as a whole, rejected the message. What Muhammad, peace be upon him, did was that one day he climbed on one of the mountains near Mecca, and he called upon all the people of Quraysh to listen to his sermon or his speech. So everyone came running, gathered at the foothills of this mountain, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, talked to the people of Mecca, and he said, "O people of Mecca, O my relatives, O my uncles, my aunts, the ones who have loved me, the ones who are close to me, if I tell you right now that on the other side of this mountain there is a huge army ready to attack you, would you believe in me? Would you accept it to be the truth?" They said, "We have no reason not to, because we know that you are the truthful one, the trustworthy one. You never lie. So if you tell us that there is an army on the other side of this mountain ready to attack us, we will believe in you." So Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Then believe in me when I say to you that there is only one God, and I am the messenger of God." And this infuriated some of the Meccan leaders, the Quraysh leaders, and they started cursing him. They started, saying things to him. They started using foul language against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In fact, one of his close uncles, Abu Lahab was one of his uncles. He cursed him and he said, "May your hands be broken," which was a curse in the Arabic language. And he was extremely angry at what Muhammad, peace be upon him, was calling people to. And inshallah, God willing, in a later episode, we're going to discuss what the real problem was. Why was it so hard for the Quraysh to accept the worship of one God? There were economic reasons, there were political reasons, there were social reasons, because Islam demanded a change in every department, in every aspect of the Arab life at that point. So the initial reaction of his greater family members, his tribe and his clan, was that of rejection. And they cursed him and they said stuff about him. But at the same time, they did not pay much attention to him because they thought that maybe this is something like a fashion, like a trend, which has just popped up in Mecca, and Muhammad is trying to form like some kind of a small group here to bring about a change, which he will not be able to do so because nobody's going to join him, and eventually he's just going to give up this whole thing and forget about it. So they thought that let's not consider him to be too serious, or let's not be bothered about this whole thing too much. But obviously some people like Abu Lahab, another man, Abu Jahl, who was another leader in Mecca, Abu Sufyan, who was the top leader of Mecca, these guys were concerned, and they thought that something had to be done about this if this stays there for a longer period of time. The amazing thing from the perspective of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Islam was that the religion was growing. And despite all these people in opposition, the younger people got attracted. The youngsters in Mecca, the teenagers and the young 20-year-olds and the early 30-year-olds, these were the people who got attracted to the message of Islam. Another group which really got attracted to the message of Islam were the women, the females, who were the oppressed section of the society. Many of the females, they came to Islam when they heard the call. Another section was the slaves, the weak, the oppressed slave section in Mecca, the orphans, the needy, the poor, the neglected ones. So it was the weak ones in Mecca who were the first responders to the call of Islam. And they would await anxiously for every new revelation. So now revelations were coming down frequently, a few passages or a few verses or a few chapters from the Holy Quran were being revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, on a daily or a weekly basis. And so, his companions, which included all these youngsters, these women, the oppressed sections of the society, the slaves, they would wait anxiously for any new commandments, for any new information from Allah. And the revelations, moved them. And this was the attracting force for the people of Mecca. They had never heard anything like the Quran in their lives. And in the section of pre-Islamic Arabia, we discussed how the Arabs, they thought of themselves as the greatest, human literaries, or, when it came to the Arabic language, that nobody could beat them, that nobody could compete with them when it came to the Arabic language, its usage, the kind of words, the phrases, the sentence structure, the grammar. They thought that nobody could beat them. But when they heard this revelation, the Quran in the Arabic language, many of them would fall into tears.